how much you can lick your boss's boots. We are not all angels. Why should I be grateful when I'm very much qualified? Bienvenue to the K-drama chat, where we look at some issues, social issues mostly, that arise in K-dramas. And today we are looking at 4 dramas that I consider to be feminist dramas. I mean, they do not brand themselves as feminist K-dramas, but they're very much feminist because they are showing the imperfections of women, and that is something that we need more of in this world, because for a very long time women have always been told, you know, you need to be a good girl, church girl, I don't know. Now as we are living in a world where we're saying that we want men and women to be seen in an equal light, it also means that we need to see women as human beings capable of good and evil, because that is the nature of all human beings. This idea that women are supposed to be angels, oh my god, it's absolute bullshit. And I just love these K-dramas for just being able to show us the imperfections of women. So the first drama that we're gonna look at is Agency. Oh my god. And the character in this drama is a strong woman who knows what she wants. She's working in an agency and she's one of the best because she's absolutely competent. She knows what she is doing. She's crushing it. She is a girl boss. She's everything. She wants to be the CEO of the agency, but they're telling her that she cannot be one because she's a woman, despite being competent, despite being overqualified for the job. And she's forced to have to deal with a lot of sexism and the incompetence of other managers. And this drama really brought up the importance of office politics, especially in the corporate environment. And then most of the time you're just being told, do your job well and you're going to get a promotion. But most often than not, it's not the case, because a lot of promotions have nothing to do with qualifications. It's all about how much you can make your boss feel comfortable around you, how much you can lick your boss's boots, how much you can clean up after your boss's mess. It's just a bunch of bullshit. And if you're a woman, especially if you live in a patriarchal society and you work in environments where men don't think that women are deserving, it's even much worse. And this actually reminds me of a conversation that I had quite a while back with a couple of my friends about how a lot of workplaces, especially in Kenya, do not actually give promotions to women who are in their 30s. They give the excuse that you're soon going to get married and have children, and so you're going to be a liability because you will need to take a lot of time off. And I was like, wow, this is still happening in 2023. This drama also brought up the issue of diversity. Just like in the drama, the woman was promoted and, you know, they used her face to do a lot of interviews to say, oh, the company is committed to diversity. I mean, look, we already have a woman who has been promoted to an executive position, something that has never happened. But they're just using that for PR purposes. And this happens a lot of times. And I myself, I have been a victim of that. While I was working in France, I was recruited into a French startup. They told me that it's a diverse and inclusive work environment. They told me about how they're international. But when I started working there, I realized pretty quickly that, oh, they just wanted my face for the photo ops, but they were not interested in what I had to say or my point of view. In fact, what I was actually told is that I'm not fitting into the company culture because I was not forcing myself to learn how to love board games, because the majority of the people who are French loved board games. And being in such an environment is really toxic, because what they really want from you is to have this attitude of, oh my god, I'm so grateful that it gave me an opportunity to be here. I mean, why should I be grateful when I'm very much qualified to do my job? You're not expecting other people to be grateful. Not expecting other French people to be grateful for having their jobs, but you're expecting people that are from other countries to be grateful and just keep quiet and strip themselves of their own cultures and assimilate the culture of the majority of the people, which is French people, for the case of that company. And pretty much after that experience, I ran away from anyone who's like, oh my god, we are diverse and inclusive. Now, the next drama we're looking at is Queenmaker, and this is one of my favorites because it takes place in the political arena, which is something I'm so much of a fan of. Just like how this is like a political world that is run by women, and the fact that we get to see a brilliant political strategist, which in the real world is not very easy to find, because for a long time we grew up being told that politics is only for men. I'm always drawn to political K-dramas because they really show behind the scenes signs of how these politicians and communication professionals are using strategies to just manipulate people. I think more than anything, this drama really shows the importance of the participation of women in politics, and not just as political leaders, but also as active citizens, and how it's really important to not just run with whatever it is that the politicians are telling you, because most of the time these politicians, they will mold themselves to be what you people want, and then they come and present themselves as that gift, that messiah that you want, but at the end of the day they have their own ulterior motives. It's also very important for us as citizens to always question whatever it is that we see being reported in the media, because most of the times they're using the media as a way of spreading propaganda so that we can just believe whatever it is they want us to believe. It's really important to start questioning everything, to not just take things at face value. You know, even things like, you know, when a politician is talking and then someone starts throwing eggs at them, you know, sometimes it's orchestrated by the politicians themselves. So it's really important to really remain objective when it comes to politicians and not fall for the gimmicks that they're always using. Then we have the K-drama Celebrity, which is all about social media influencers. I found the storyline that they chose to be a little bit cliche, you know, showing how influencers are vain and all that, but what really piqued my interest was the hierarchies amongst influencers. There's so many influencers that have talked about influencer events and how there are some influencers that are actually treated like God, even though they're absolutely horrendous, even though they treat other people so badly. They get this special treatment because of the number of followers that they have. The higher the number of followers you have, the higher in the hierarchy you are. I've always found this to be really stupid, but again, for a lot of human beings who really feel empty on the inside, they always rush towards such things that make them feel like they have some sense of power over other people. They use that to define themselves because they don't know who they are. This show really did well in showing how social media can literally change your life overnight. It's actually not something abnormal, because in the kind of world that we live today, if you can find a way of gaining people's attention, you're going to make money. And that is how churches are making their money, because they're able to attract people. It is how the media industry, the film industry, the music industry has always worked. And social media really brought something new to the influence space, because it has always been there, but social media allowed us to really see its power in real time. I mean, someone can post something right now and literally has millions in 3 minutes. It's crazy. And also see how people have these strong feelings about people that they've never seen, whether it's strong love or whether it's strong hate. I think that is something that I'm really interested in, because I just don't understand it. I mean, where does it come from? It's really ridiculous for me to think that I would really hate someone or really love someone and I've never met them just because I follow them on social media. I mean, it's a phenomenon that obviously we do see in celebrity. It's very interesting, and it's something that I would definitely want to delve into more, because it's just fascinating that human beings can be like this. Then we have one of my favorite K-dramas of all time, Little Women. And the range of the imperfect women that we see in Little Women is absolutely fantastic. We see a mother who abandons her own children. We see a sister who is a journalist, but she's also an alcoholic. And then she also has a loud mouth. She doesn't even think before saying anything. We also have the younger sister who doesn't even like her own family, and she doesn't like being associated with her own family. We have another sister who's so greedy for money that she puts herself in dangerous situations. And you have the mastermind who is greedy for power and will do anything for power. I mean, fantastic. Watching this drama was just amazing every step of the way, because I was just like, yes, we need to see more imperfections in women, and especially day-to-day women, because this idea that you need to be perfect, no, we need to have room to also make mistakes and not be punished for them the same way that men are never punished even when they do 1001 mistakes. But for a woman, if you just do one mistake, that is going to define you for the rest of your life. For example, if you get a child in your teenage years, you're forever going to be told a teenage mother. It's going to follow you for the rest of your life. If a man or a boy fathers a child when he's a teenager, like no one ever even talks about it. The character that I really resonated with in Little Women is the younger sister who never really wanted to be associated with her own family because she was ashamed that she comes from a poor family. She wanted to be associated with the rich family of her friend. This is something that I actually resonate with because I remember growing up, I never really used to want to tell people that I grew up in the village. So when anyone asked me, where do you come from, I would say the nearest town because I was so ashamed that I came from the village, and I don't know why. But it's very interesting because it took me actually going to France and seeing how basically the villages in France look like villages in Kenya, and I was like, okay, but why was I ashamed of saying that I'm from the village? There's nothing wrong with coming from the village. In fact, we get fresh food. I mean, whatever is on trend nowadays with food, people saying farm to table, that is how we have been living our entire lives. Whether you're talking about sustainability, we have been living sustainable lives ever since I was young. I mean, collecting rainwater, storing it in the tanks and using that. We give vegetable scraps to animals. Like, there's no waste. But I was never really proud of this, but it just took me going away and seeing things from a bird's eye view, and I was like, oh wow, I was actually very lucky to actually be born in a village and be able to live such a clean, sustainable and joyful life. I mean, I'm surrounded by trees every single day. I can hear the birds chirping now. We have huge tracts of land. It's not like, you know, Paris. I was living in a very small studio. It wasn't having that experience that actually made me grateful for the life that I had while growing up. And right now I'm actually very much proud of being from the village, and I'm even shooting with the imperfections that come with the village. But if it were 5 years ago, you would never find me sitting down here filming this. That's why it's really important to show the diversity of women, not just in how we look, but also how we think about ourselves, how we think about our situations, because the truth of the matter is that we are not all angels, and we need to start accepting that. And that is actually going to help us to show up more in life, because you're not going to feel shame when you make a mistake. Rather, you're going to be like, oh well, I'm just a human being like any other person.